The morning was kind, James and I sweetly awakening before our alarms. That's really amazing considering the night before. Oddly, yes, I felt well rested and ready for the day ahead. As I looked at James, who was still holding me, he opened his eyes slowly and smiled down at me.
Good morning. Did you sleep better?
I nodded, causing him to chuckle and kiss my forehead. My own lips curled up into a smile as his lips touched my skin. I hugged him tighter, burying my head in his chest. Do we have to get up?
Unfortunately, we do. You have to organize more wedding arrangements, and I have to go to work.
Do you have to?
Yes, I do. Now come on, let's go.
I couldn't help but whine. I wanted to stay with James in bed just a little longer. However, since he was the CEO of the Anderson Toys Company, he had many obligations to attend to. Not even his future wife could pull him away from those duties. As James sat up, he took me up into his arms and kissed me lovingly, making a smile grow back onto my cheeks. I couldn't be annoyed for long whenever he kissed me. Oh, this music. Haven't heard this in a little while. We went downstairs and had breakfast together before James went to work. It was always depressing whenever he left me alone in the house. However, he was the CEO, and I was currently still in school getting a degree. Luckily for me, all of my courses were online, so I didn't have to leave the house to get the degree I wanted. Attending classes in pajamas was always better than having to put on regular clothes. I stretched and yawned, still slightly tired from waking up in the middle of the night. As I thought about that moment, I couldn't stop images of my nightmare flashing through my mind. Quickly, I shook my head. Nope, it was a stupid dream. No. Before that night, I had had wonderful dreams of James and I preparing the wedding and eventually seeing each other at the church. He hadn't seen my dress, despite trying to, so he'd be stunned and I would be blushing and smiling from ear to ear. That one nightmare, however, worried me. What if it was an omen? A sign? You're not questioning, why Diana is there at all? She's supposed to be gone. I wrapped my arms around myself, feeling a cold wave of nerves rush against my skin. Also, actually, that's a good point. If we're going through, the James timeline, we've never seen Diana as a demon. So how did we picture her looking like that? Interesting. My first instinct was to call Naomi or Suzu just to vent about it and get it out of my system. But if there was something supernatural at work, they wouldn't understand. Closing my eyes, I made a decision. I took my phone out of my pocket and dialed a number onto my phone without looking at it before bringing it up to my ear. The other line rang a couple of times before I heard a voice answer at last.
Hello?
Really? We called Sam? Crap, I didn't know Sam was still sleeping. Sam? Is Carrie awake?
Dude, why are you calling?
Sam, you dork! Give me the phone! I know it's her!
Sam get a lady? Oh, I'm so happy for him.
Doofus, calm down.
Mine. Haha! Hello?
She sounds like a really great person. Joe Fass. I smiled. Carrie was Sam's wife. Yup, I said it. Wife. Wow, they moved quickly on that. Alright. We ever get to see Carrie? They had been married for almost a year, and despite sounding like they were always bickering half the time, they truly loved each other. Sam had met her while investigating a haunted house. She had been there as an architectural consultant, and they clicked as soon as they both left. What was even more surprising about the relationship, however, was that Carrie knew what he was before he even confessed it to her. Apparently, she was a witch, a person who had been granted permission to know about magic and otherworldly creatures by the angels, and was gifted with both demon and holy magic. She sounds terrifying. I only got to know about otherworldly creatures because I was in a relationship with one and was marrying him. Hey, Carrie, are you free right now?
Huh? Well, I kinda just got out of bed, but let me check my schedule, okay? Give me a sec.
I heard Carrie climb over Sam at one point, making him swear at her before he groaned in defeat at the situation. After a couple of book flips from the other line, Carrie finally cheered.
I don't have anything scheduled for work today, so I'm all free. What do you need? Wedding advice?
No, not that. mind coming over? I kind of want to ask you something.
Sure thing. Sam's got work today. It'll just be me. I'll even bring some pizza and stuff so we can have a fun girls' lunch. What do you say?
That sounds awesome. Sounds great. See you soon. The phone call ended and I let out a sigh. This would be good for me. Carrie might be able to help clear things up. I decided to clean as I waited. The mansion was huge after all, and it never stopped collecting dust. Soon enough, however, Carrie came by with 2 pizza boxes in one hand and a large bottle of pop in the other. I couldn't help but feel my stomach gurgle at the delicious smell. She brought deep dish pizza! Yum! Hey, we do get to see her. Pretty cute. We settled into my room and made my bed into our picnic area. We laid out a blanket so we didn't get crumbs on the bed itself, but we liked our makeshift eating spot.
So, what's going on? Are you having premarital trouble?
No, it's not about our marriage. Well... Carrie tilted her head at me, wondering what was the matter. I began to doubt myself. Should I tell her about the nightmare? Maybe it really was just a bad dream and I was overthinking it. I closed my eyes, thinking about what to say. Eventually, I finally spoke up. You called her for something serious. It's bothering you. Talk about the nightmare. I had a nightmare last night.
Huh? A nightmare? Was it really bad?
I nodded, remembering how horrified I was in the nightmare and visibly shivering at the memory. Carrie frowned and poured me a glass of pop.
Maybe I should have brought alcohol.
Oh no, it wasn't that terrible. I swear. I rubbed the back of my neck. I had to relax. It was a nightmare, nothing real. I should have been able to talk about it. I looked up at Carrie. It was about James. He was holding me in a jail cell. Be honest, girl. I'm curious about if this actually means anything. Carrie stared wide-eyed at me, unsure of what to say. I continued. He looked cold and evil. Diana was there too.
Diana? The succubus that tried to take the boys away?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was in the cell next to me, but for some reason, it seemed like she was trying to protect me.
Protect you? How?
My mind instantly replayed the nightmare, flashing to when Diana gripped James's shoulder and tried to pull him away from me. I couldn't help my body from wincing at the memory of her being shot by his gun. He came into my cell. He enthralled me, and Diana shouted at him to leave me alone. Then he... Carrie reached over and placed her hand on my shoulder, making me lower my head. It was strange to think about Diana protecting me. Yet I could feel the anger in her voice when James tried to approach me. She truly sounded like she had wanted to protect me. He shot her with his demon gun, and when she died, he came after me.
Oh my god. I'm so sorry.
It may not have been real, but my body couldn't help but quake in fear when recalling the nightmare. I shook my head and looked at Carrie, needing to know what was going on. Do you think this is an omen? This nightmare can't just be a dream. Carrie ran her hands through her hair and stared at the blanket beneath us. She bit her lower lip as she contemplated, which made me worried.
You said a jail cell?
Yeah, it was in a stone dungeon.
Like in a medieval castle?
Yeah. Carrie shook her head again and ran her hands through her hair once more before looking up at me.
I don't know if this is connected with that dream, but I've heard rumors about the Abyssal Plains being in utter chaos.
What? What do you mean?
I don't know what's happening exactly, but for the past 2 years, the demon world has been emitting some really bad energy. Even the angels are taking note of what's happening. They're even neglecting their duties to go to the demon world themselves.
Concerning. That threw me off. According to Carrie, angels were extremely devoted to watching over the human world. They would never skimp duties to even think about the demon world. Carrie shook her head.
The only place I can imagine jail cells like that being used for prisoners is in the Abyssal Plains. But you and James are here in the human world, so it makes no sense.
Carrie abruptly moved from the bed and reached for her purse, digging through it and practically sticking her entire arm into it. I swore she was Mary Poppins the day I saw her do that the first time. Apparently, it was a demon-branded bag called the Endless Satchel, only found in the demon black market of the human world. It wasn't just a bag on the inside. It was a void. You could stuff anything in there and be able to pull it back out with ease as long as you pictured it in your mind. Carrie pulled out something wrapped in dark green silk. As she unfolded the cloth, she revealed a deck of cards. On the back of each card was a black pentagram with small, almost unreadable markings around it. Also, I want to apologize if I'm sounding kind of sick. I feel like my nose is plugged. It wasn't before I started recording, but it just feels like it's closing. So if I sound a bit strange, apologies for that. Maybe I'm getting sick? On the faces, however, were different hand-painted images that helped me recognize it as a tarot deck. They were worn, but they still emitted a power that made a shiver run down my spine.
It's been a while since I've used this, but it might be able to shed some light on the situation.
I watched as Carrie held the deck against her chest and closed her eyes, muttering to herself. She then lifted the deck to her lips and kissed over the top card before shuffling it. The cards practically danced and glided between her fingers as if they were alive when she shuffled them in her hands. Eventually, she stopped and the deck settled together in her grip. Show you the past, the present, and the future as well. She gently drew 3 cards from the top of the deck, setting them face down in front of her, and placed the remainder of the deck on the nightstand. She flipped one over, revealing a wheel with multiple symbols on it. As I stared at the card, the wheel seemed to spin on the face of the card, making me slightly dizzy. Carrie mumbled to herself as she examined the card.
The Wheel of Fortune. Could this be about the demon world changing? No, it can't just be that. Someone changed something in the past and disturbed the fate of the Abyssal Plains.
My grandfather? I looked at the card, taking note of what Carrie said aloud. There were many things that I knew that I had personally changed. I wasn't destined to get the Anderson Toys Company. I met the boys and learned about magic, and I was going through a big change in my life with my upcoming marriage. Carrie moved her hand and flipped over another card, revealing a figure with a sword in one hand and a scale on the other. Staring at the card, I swore I heard angry whispers in the air around me.
Justice? What could this be about? Could the change in the past be something so big that it demands justice's attention?
My mind began to replay every choice I made in my life and fast forward. My decision to let the boys stay, to defend the boys against Malix, to stand up to Diana. Everything rolled past my thoughts. Was one of those decisions one I shouldn't have made? I didn't get to think on it long as Carrie flipped over the third card. As it was revealed, both Carrie and I gasped.
The King of Swords? But that card is not supposed to look like that.
Invisible? Oh. It's James, 'cause it is all yellow. Oh no. A king figure sat on a throne with a large sword in his hand as if he was ready to attack the viewer. However, the card looked like a black and gold demon I recognized. James? The picture, despite being simple, was powerful enough to make a shudder run through my body at the sight. As we stared, however, the nightstand that held the remaining cards began to quake, forcing me and Carrie to look over in surprise.
What the?
The tarot cards, on their own, burst upwards and began to fly through the air frantically. The sounds of battle and war emanated from them and raged through the room, and Carrie quickly moved to shield my body with hers as she covered her ears. I covered mine as well, but that didn't stop the sounds of blood and clashing swords from digging into my senses. I could almost feel the heat and danger of the image of war that the sounds were painting against my skin. As the sounds stopped, I looked up to see the cards float down onto us, now lifeless, and all of them torn in half right down the middle. As they landed, however, I stared in shock at what I saw on each half card's face. Carrie looked up and gasped as well.
Impossible.
What? On half of the cards, I saw a girl that had my hairstyle with a stream of tears running down her face, reaching out toward the torn edge. On the other, I saw a weeping boy with James' demon horns and a crown on his head. He was reaching back toward the tear that divided him from the other half of the card where the girl was. And there's a heart that's been ripped in half. And a cage? My heart practically stopped. Was this really happening? I couldn't believe my own eyes as I stared at the cards in front of me. My nightmare began to flash before my eyes, causing me to grip onto myself and shiver violently from the fear bubbling in my core. Carrie quickly grabbed hold of me and hugged me to her.
Hey, shh. It's okay. It's okay. Sometimes the cards are wrong. This can't be right.
Really, Carrie? You've seen this happen before, where it just, like, flies around and tears up in half and it's all doom and gloom? Hey? I mean, look at all this. Look at all this. How could I believe her? I was staring at multiple torn cards, showing me the exact same message. I gripped to Carrie, feeling extreme fear and sadness run through my body. Whoops.
Hey, look at me.
I looked up at Carrie. She gave me a small smile as she squeezed me gently in her hug.
Magic is fickle, okay? The cards aren't always correct. Fate can always be changed. Remember that.
If you had the power to change your fate. I knew she was trying to make me feel better. I knew that there was something going on. However, as the thought of my marriage came up, I knew that I'd have to calm down eventually. They were cards, and my marriage was still happening, regardless of what they said. I closed my eyes and slowly started to ignore the signs, the cards, and the nightmare in my head. This wouldn't help me, and I had to prepare for my wedding. Carrie muttered an incantation under her breath, and... pardon me. When I opened my eyes, the cards had all disappeared. I hugged Carrie tighter, silently thanking her for removing them. I had to be stronger. I had to. As the day went on, I enlisted Carrie to help with the wedding arrangements. Surprisingly, we got a majority of the work needed done, so that gave us time to relax and watch a movie together before James returned from work. Wanting to leave us alone, Carrie left as soon as he came.
Hey, did everything go all right? I'm assuming Carrie helped.
Yes, she did. For some reason, I felt the need to hug him. I just needed to. Without warning, I walked over and wrapped my arms around James, laying my head against his chest.
Huh? Love?
Mm-hmm. As James wrapped his arms around me and kissed the top of my head, I smiled. He would be with me, and I would be okay.
I love you.
I love you too. My heart felt at ease. Everything would be fine. Everything would be okay. James looked down at me, pulling away slightly to see my face with a smile.
So, what would you like for dinner? We can go out to eat, or we can stay at home and I can make something.
I held James's hands in mine, knowing that I wanted to just stay home with him. We had more than enough for the wedding, yes, but our time together was better spent alone together rather than at a restaurant. How about we order food instead? You just came back from work. Might as well relax. James chuckled softly before kissing my cheek, making me giggle softly.
As my wonderful bride wishes.
We ordered takeout and sat together in our room, once again making the bed a picnic area. We played a movie in the background, but our focus was on each other. He made himself comfy without a shirt, and I made myself comfy with my head against his shoulder.
So, is everything all right? I made sure the reception hall was taken care of on my way back, so that should be in order.
Oh, wow. Good, thank you. Yeah, everything's in order. We'll have a perfect wedding.
Was there anything you wanted to add to the wedding? It's not too late to include anything you like if you really want it.
No, I don't think so. I think everything we have is good. James nodded before continuing to eat. I, however, stopped and stared at James. I was really going to get married to him. It was strange to imagine that I was really about to swear my life to someone for all time. It was like a dream come true. Why would I ever let something stupid like a nightmare shake me from it? Screw the nightmare. I was going to live a dream. I gently moved my food to the nightstand and placed a hand under James's plate, making him stop to look up at me. I softly pulled it away from him, placing his food next to mine before crawling over James and sitting over his lap. Oh, hey, our first CG. What's up? I was eating that food. Promise me something?
Huh? Anything.
Promise to stay with me forever? It seemed like a simple and obvious promise, but I wanted to hear him profess it. James continued to look up at me, silently understanding my need to hear it, and wrapped his arms around my body.
I promise to stay with you forever.
Until the end of time?
Until the end of time.
You can't break your promise to me. Ever.
I would never dream of it.
James moved a hand up and tenderly caressed my cheek, making me nuzzle into his hand and close my eyes.
You are the one I want to spend my entire life with. I will give everything and more to you for as long as I possibly can as your husband.
I felt tears slowly run down my cheeks, which were soon brushed away by James's thumb. I nuzzled further into James's hand and held his wrist, almost hugging his arm to my chest.
Is the nightmare you had last night bothering you?
I couldn't help but nod in reply, frowning and biting my lower lip. I didn't want it to bother me. It wasn't worth it. I knew that James would stay with me and would never hurt me. I'm worried about these bad endings though, girl. James gently wrapped his free arm across my back and pulled me against his chest, moving his head to nuzzle my other cheek comfortingly.
Do you want to tell me what happened, or will you be okay?
I moved to wrap my arms around James. I wasn't sure if I wanted to tell him at all. We've always told him everything. Tell him. I gently pulled away from him to look into his eyes. I had to tell him. It was about him, after all. I was in a dungeon. I was there with Diana.
Diana? Did she try to hurt you?
No. Actually, she was trying to protect me.
From who?
You. What? James stared in surprise at me, but remained silent as I continued. Why does my mouse keep double-clicking? You came in and enthralled me, but it wasn't like you usually do it. It was forceful, and I didn't want it, but I was under your control. Diana tried to stop you, but you shot her, then you came for me. For some reason, a weight was lifted from my shoulders. It was a terrible dream, but James deserved to know. As I finished recounting the nightmare, James gently moved his hands up and cupped my face in them.
Thank you for telling me, and I'm sorry that you experienced that kind of nightmare. But I swear to you that I will never hurt you.
He always thanks us for telling him stuff. I let myself become lost in his amber eyes, believing every single word he said. I could feel the love and care in his voice, and his warm hands assured me that he would protect me from harm. I wrapped my arms once again around James and let my head rest on his shoulder as his arms encircled my form. I loved him. He loved me. We're one happy family. We would protect and love each other forever. Soon enough, the wedding day had come. I had received many pre-wedding gifts from guests that couldn't come, but I knew many people would still be at the wedding since James was the Anderson Toy Company's CEO. Oh no. I'm worried. Whoops. Whack my keyboard. I'm worried. We're having the wedding already, and it's very early. I feel like something terrible is gonna happen at this wedding. Just as he, sees her in her dress, she's gonna be like, James, help! Be whisked away somewhere. By Diana, probably. Alas, I had decided to dress alone at the mansion. The girls had offered to help, but I needed the time to myself. I had to reflect on the day ahead. I was about to be married. It was insane. I couldn't stop staring at myself in the mirror, dressed in the wedding dress of my dreams. Is this really happening? I knew the air wouldn't answer me, but I felt myself need to speak my thoughts aloud. I could hardly believe that I was about to walk out of the house and be someone's wife. James's wife. The thought of us together made me smile and close my eyes.
Talking to you.
Oh, crap. Well, this is a bad sign. A voice I didn't know sent shivers up and down my spine. I suddenly looked around, hearing the voice echo in the room. What about baptism? What? What was going on? Why was I hearing voices? This couldn't be happening. I held my head, trying to stop the sounds in case I was dreaming or imagining them. Stop! 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 I screamed at the voices, not knowing what they were saying but wanting them to go away. What I didn't realize was that my screams let out some sort of spell that seemed to freeze the air around me. Well, that was handy. Everything was still and silent. I could feel, however, that the room around me was frozen in time.
I knew it! I knew it! That girl has demon magic.
What the?
And quit talking and let's take her!
Oh, I know that voice. Demon servant's still alive and well.
The demon lord will be so pleased.
The heck? Who? Before I could turn to search for the voices, I felt hands grab hold of my feet, and I looked down and lifted my dress. 2 pairs of evil-looking hands had taken hold of my ankles, reaching through a dark red and purple pentagram. I shrieked, trying to pull my legs away, but couldn't stop them as they swiftly pulled me into the ground. Yep, I knew I was going to be whisked away. I was pulled deeper into the darkness. I was no longer in my room. I was being dragged through a dark void, one that I couldn't escape. I reached out and clawed at the dark, trying to find something to grab onto. I tried to pull my legs away from the hands that were holding them, but couldn't pull free. What was going on? Why was this happening? Someone help me!